The Knicks are cooked next season, and I need you to stop and look at this exact play right here.
Antonio. That one too strong. Robinson, the rebound, back out to Charlotte. Now they have to foul. And a foul. Mitchell Robinson with one of the biggest offensive rebounds in Knicks history.
That rebound basically handed New York the championship, and right now, that same guy, Mitchell Robinson, just signed with the Boston Celtics. It makes zero sense that the dude who spent 8 years in New York and just ended a 53-year title drought literally packed his bags for the enemy. The guy who physically bodied Wemby in the finals, shut down his catches, and sealed Game 5 for the Knicks, yeah, he now plays for the only team standing between the Knicks and a repeat. Even his own teammates couldn't process it. Josh Hart literally just dropped a one-word reaction. Damn. Because everyone on that team knows losing him completely breaks what New York is building. Boston didn't just grab an elite backup big. They got the guy who knows exactly how New York won. Every screen, every rotation, every little defensive trick. He knows it all. So the real question is, did the Knicks just hand Boston everything they need to stop him? To really get why this ruins the Knicks, you have to understand that while we were all losing our minds over Cat during the finals and how he was constantly pulling Wemby out to the logo and opening up the floor, Robinson was the actual spine of that whole strategy. See, every time Towns picked up his third or fourth foul, which happened in both Game 1 and Game 2 by the way, the Spurs thought they finally had their window. Then, all of a sudden, Mitchell would check in and play with that exact same level of nastiness, acting like a brick wall so the drop-off literally didn't exist. The Spurs never got a single second to breathe, because every time Towns went out, Robinson made sure he covered up that gap. That's not a backup center role. That's a championship role. And right now, I know you're probably thinking that Mitchell's a traitor for going to the Celtics. But according to insiders on the Knicks team, he didn't even want to leave. And he did everything in his power to stay. In fact, he had to come out publicly to tell OG Anunoby how much he tried to stay. The truth is, the Knicks front office completely panicked about the new CBA rules, refused to go into the second apron, and basically kicked their own defensive anchor out the door, just to save some cash.
Yeah, you could say it was everything, Eamon, because James Dolan and the Knicks did not want to go above that second apron, and the only way to bring Mitchell Robinson back was to go north of the second apron.
And since the front office chose cheaping out over keeping the squad together, the whole situation turned toxic overnight, because it just started a beef between Mitchell and his former teammate, Josh Hart. I mean, check this out. Wow, these dudes were literally popping champagne together 3 weeks ago after the finals, and now they're beefing. But here's where things get crazy. It's not just internet drama, because the actual league insiders are screaming about how badly this ruins their depth next season.
So how does Robinson now joining the Celtics impact this rivalry?
Yeah, look, it takes away a significant piece for the Knicks, a player that they had relied on when he was on the court for fantastic offensive rebounding, great.
The Celtics watched those finals and identified the exact thing that made New York impossible to beat. Two physical bigs who could rotate in and out without dropping the level of physicality for even one possession. Then they went out and got the second one, while the Knicks replaced him with Andre Drummond. This isn't just a regular free agency signing. This is Boston essentially saying, we found a glitch in your system, and we just took it from you. So, what exactly does New York have left to stop them? To answer that, you have to first look at how much Boston just paid to get Robinson. We're talking about a 3-year, $47 million contract to play for a team that got utterly embarrassed in the first round, specifically because they lacked the size to protect the paint. That's where this hurts the most. Robinson was given New York 8.8 rebounds and over a block a game off the bench, providing elite production that completely anchored their second unit. Boston didn't just stumble into the signing out of luck. This was probably one of the smartest and most strategic front office moves throughout the entire league. Meanwhile, the media is already killing the Knicks for how they fumbled the fallout. To get how bad this is for the Knicks, CBS Sports handed the front office a flat C+ grade for their summer roster management. But to be totally fair to them, the Knicks actually tried to salvage the depths by throwing an offer at Moussa Cisse. But Dallas matched the contract instantly to protect their asset. That forced New York into an emergency pivot that should honestly terrify everyone in the city. Because as we stand right now, the guy tasked with holding down the paint whenever Towns is out is officially Andre Drummond. Now if you talk to the diehard Knicks fans, they will swear the rest of their moves make up for it. Because they brought Jordan Clarkson back to spark the offense, secured Jose Alvarado to keep bringing that perimeter defense, re-signed Landry Shamet and kept Mohamed Diawara around for developmental depth. And yeah, on paper, betting on pure continuity makes total sense, because history proves that teams that panic and shake up their roster right after winning a ring usually implode under their own weight. But let's be real with each other. That's just a pretty lie to cover up the fact that the front office got completely handcuffed by their own billionaire owner. This was not some genius masterclass in team chemistry. This came straight from the top of the organization. James Dolan went on record admitting that he would never allow the team to go into the second apron just to keep money.
There's certain things in the NBA that you have to be, suicidal to do, and we're not going to do those. One of them was called the second apron. Cannot go.
The problem with that decision is that it's already actively breaking the roster apart. And if you think just seeing Mitchell in a Celtics jersey is gonna be painful, the actual reality of what Boston is about to do with him is a million times worse. The funniest part of all of this is that I keep seeing some Knicks fans on my timeline trying to say Mitchell is only gonna play 12 empty minutes a night, which just proves to me that they do not actually understand hoops. The real problem starts when Karl-Anthony Towns needs a breather, and then New York is forced to sub in Andre Drummond, who's really just out there padding his stats with easy rebounds while giving up straight layups on the other end. The reality is that his heavy drop coverage is basically an invitation for Boston to drag him out of the logo and give him hell. But that's not even the worst part, because Drummond getting dragged out to the three-point line is only half the problem. The real nightmare starts in the fourth quarter, when Jalen Brunson tries to close games out. We all know Brunson's a magician on the paint, but his whole offensive package relies on using his hips to shield off shot blockers and freezing defenders with those persistent pump fakes. Guess what? Mitchell spent the last 3 years guarding him in practice every single day, meaning he knows every single shoulder lean, every preferred driving angle, and every single trick by heart. So anytime he tries it next season, Robinson will be right there to counter it.
Bringing in anybody like Mitchell Robinson in free agency, and quite frankly, I'm not even sure anybody you trade for would be as good as Mitchell Robinson.
When you stack Mitchell at the rim behind a perimeter defense that already has a monster like Drew Holiday terrorizing ball handlers, it completely changes the trajectory of the Eastern Conference. Brad Stevens kept Jaylen Brown when the media was shouting for a trade, and Peyton Pritchard is shooting 42% from 3 off the bench. This means Brunson cannot even rely on his system to save him when he has an off night anymore. Everyone loves to forget that back in Game 2 of the finals, Brunson shot a horrific 7 for 25 from the field, and the only reason the Knicks still won by 14 was because their defense completely suffocated the opposition. Now that the safety net is gone, it forces you to ask one question that nobody in New York wants to find out. Can Jalen Brunson actually carry this entire roster on his back when the system breaks down around him? I mean, sure, he's undeniably the best closer in the league, but even a star of his caliber needs the machine running smoothly to get to his spots. What happens when Karl-Anthony Towns picks up 2 quick fouls and Mitchell Robinson is across the hall? What happens when opposing defenses finally figure out how to lock down Josh Hart without giving up easy backdoor cuts and uncontested rebounds? These are the real, terrifying questions keeping people up at night in New York, because the front office decisions just shrunk their margin for error to absolute zero. But before you start hitting full panic mode, remember who we're actually talking about here. This team won 53 games in a brutal regular season and got 13 straight victories in the playoffs. They still possess the deepest coaching staff in basketball, and when the fourth quarter clock winds down, Jalen Brunson remains the most reliable closer in the entire Eastern Conference. However, if you seriously thought the rest of the East was just gonna sit back while the Knicks self-destructed over luxury tax checks, you're tripping. Immediately, Dolan decided keeping a ring-winning squad like that together costs too much. It was completely open season. Maxey and the Sixers are grinning ear to ear right now, knowing they don't have to deal with Mitchell Robinson shutting down the paint anymore. And Milwaukee's looking at the exact same thing. Isn't it crazy how you spent 53 years begging for a chip, and your very first move as defending champs is literally handing everyone the blueprint on how to cook your defense before you could even fully enjoy your win? Which brings us straight to how messy next season's about to be. You can talk all you want about locker room chemistry and veteran leadership, but numbers don't care about your feelings. The front office dumped their entire physical identity just to save a billionaire some pocket change, and swapping an elite championship rim protector for Andre Drummond. Boston did not just get better, they literally stole the master key. So when the Celtics walk into MSG next season and hunt that exact defensive mismatch over and over again, just remember, the Knicks did not lose Mitchell to a better offer. They lost him because they didn't want to spend.